Hey, welcome back to our YouTube channel. We got a Ford Transit Connect XLT 2012 and we're turning it into a camper van for a road trip that we're taking this summer. Got lots of videos that you can check out, but today we are doing the video on how I installed our tongue and groove pine ceiling in here. So this was not without trouble or without struggle. I'm trying to make videos that show kind of the real life of the van build for, especially if it's your first time or if you're a little bit inexperienced. I want to make sure that I'm creating a very real experience for you of what this is really like. So it's not all rainbows and unicorns all the time. You can see that in all my other videos as well. Things happen, mistakes happen. Sometimes it's just a struggle, right? But you keep on going and you end up finishing the project. So that's what this one is. It feels super good once it's done. When you're in it, it's kind of like you're in the fire. But anyway, so this video's about how I got that tongue and groove pine up on the ceiling. Enjoy. Okay, so before I get the first ceiling plank up, I need to insulate inside of here. This is a pretty common place that gets missed and just is a big place for heat to get out and for cool air, and also heat to get in from the roof. This is what I love about this Havelock Wool, is you can just kind of pull it apart and then just kind of stuff it up into these spaces. Okay, so for the first board, I want it to be right in the middle, or as close to the middle as I can get it. That way I have even planks, amount of planks on both sides, just for aesthetics, and so I don't end up with, I don't know, more just for the look of it all. So I lined this up and I just screwed one screw into the middle and then to here, because I'm gonna have to do a cutout around this fan. And the nice part about being in the garage having the fan uninstalled is that I was able to get up here and just kind of draw a pencil line and kind of scribe the outside of that on the top of this board. So now I'm going to take it down and go cut that with the jigsaw. So I forgot to hit record, but essentially I just went whomp, 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 whomp. So you can kind of envision that, how that actually went. So one thing before I finish up the ceiling is I got this pack of Kilmat 80 mil for sound deadening. Essentially, this is the area where I did the least research, I think. I just saw some people have it in their videos. Watched one video on how somebody put it on from Kilmat themselves. So I don't know. I put a little bit up right here, and I'm just going to finish off in between the ribs. And essentially what it does is it deadens the sound to hopefully take some of that echo away, because it's kind of just like an open chamber here. So worst case scenario, it does nothing. I've wasted $35. Best case scenario, it deadens the sound a little bit. The Havelock Wool that I'm going to put up above also has sound deadening properties as well. And essentially how you do it is you take the mat, you cut it into the strips that you need. And then since it's cold in here, it says, I think it said if you're applying under 40 degrees or 50 degrees, something like that, to use a heat gun to heat up the space just so you get that better adhesion. And just sticking it on there does a little bit, but not much. There's like these little rollers that you can use to really roll it on there. Apparently it makes a huge difference if you roll it or not. I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm going to put a link to the roller that I got. It's super cheap, but it also really stinks. The like bearing in there gets stuck all the time. It'll just scrape across. I don't know if it's just a defective one or what. It got good reviews. It's cheap. So but I'll probably be returning this, or, you know, or I just roll with it. Okay, so now I have a few boards up. There's like this gap up here, and that's where I'm going to insulate. So I'm just sliding a sheet of this Havelock wool up in there. It fits pretty perfect in between the ceiling and the boards. All right. Okay, so I'm on the board that I need to make a hole for one of our little puck lights. So I went and got, per the instructions with the lights, a 2 1/4 inch hole saw blade. And actually, when I was doing a test run before this, it's always best, especially when you get a new tool, to test it out on something. And so I tested it on a test piece, like a scrap piece of this, and I got a big piece of wood stuck in here. It was actually kind of a mess. Nothing went right for a little while. But I learned a little trick after some YouTubing of how to make this. So, because a lot of times what will happen is the wood will get stuck in this little hole here, and then you got to disassemble it and kind of pound on it with a hammer. But to avoid that, so I got my hole here, which is right in the middle, or I got my spot marked. So I'm going to line that up. So the idea is to go halfway through until you get a hole coming out the bottom, right there. And then you go on the other side. And you get through. So that just cut on that nuts, it's on the upside, so it's all good. But then when it comes out, the wood is kind of halfway out already. Just pulls right out, super simple. Okay, so I made it far enough along on the ceiling, and I was just kind of stuffing the insulation up. As I kind of finished a section, I would stuff up the insulation in there in the sheet. So if you can see, there it is. So I still got to go back a little bit under these ones. But highly suggest insulating beforehand. If you're a normal human being doing a van conversion, you'd probably do like everybody else does, where they insulate the whole van and all that good stuff. But I didn't want to, on the ceiling, I would have had to like put strings or glue or something to keep it held up there. So I was just like, oh, why don't I insulate as I'm putting the ceiling up? But it was a little bit trickier getting it up in that tiny little cavity. It kept getting caught on stuff and then it would bunch up. But anywho, so right now I cut the holes for the lights. And now before I really wrap up the ceiling, I need to run some wiring for those puck lights. If you checked out my pre-wiring video, I pre-wired a bunch of stuff in the van all of the things I said in the video still apply to pre-wiring a van. I just had it was one of the first things we did on the project. Didn't really exactly have the whole layout nailed down. I knew less about electrical, so or what we were going to actually use in here. So I actually took all of that out. Lesson learned on that one. And so now I went and bought some 16 gauge wire on Amazon, because that's what most of my components, at least the basic stuff, that's what my rocker switch, the switch panel that I'm going to use for my lights, that's what it takes in. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to use a higher gauge wire when all of that current is gonna, anyways, I don't need to go into that. What I need to do quick before I finish up the ceiling is I need to pre-wire, run some wires from the battery. So this area, this is where there's gonna be a box. I need to run some batteries, or I run some wires. I'm gonna run them underneath here, because there's a gap, and then I'm gonna run them up here, and then I drilled a little hole in the plywood here because the cabinet's gonna sit about here, and then I can just kind of run this right up the back of the cabinet, up here, through here, and then I'll run them out into where I need my lights. So I just kind of stuck one up there just so I could test it out. So I'll pull that down, and I'm gonna pre-wire these. Okay, so I pre-wired the lights. They're just going through that hole, running underneath here, up through this hole, up here, through there, up here, and then I just have kind of a little pull here because I can snip it here, connect the light, shove it up there, and then back up through here, back behind there and through here, and then back here for the last light. So it's gonna be nice and bright in here, 4 lights in this little space. But so that's all pre-wired. Now I can continue on with the ceiling. So the ceiling I was able to get up, I don't think I recorded much of this, but I was able to get up all of these. I'm on to the last kind of plank up on this side and on the other side. So I'm gonna have to get a little bit creative with how I kind of shimmy these things up here. But just like everything else, you just kind of go at it until you figure it out. Had some trouble with this board here. Just the arc is a lot right there. I don't know. And so I ended up having to like trim off some of the back of the tongue groove that doesn't show, just so I could slide it in past the wood batten up there, but got it fitted in there pretty well. So here we go. Hopefully we can finish the roof, or the ceiling. Ta-da! Just like that, the ceiling is done. No problem, on to the next. Yeah, that's what YouTubers will have. You feeling like boom, just done like that. That's not how it goes all the time. Maybe the more experienced people can just kind of whip these things up. But if you're new to this, it can be a lot more challenging. This is a little bit more footage of kind of the process for getting just those last boards up. Oh, this is harder than I thought it would be to do this last piece. Like I think I figure it out, and then I don't. I even went and bought a tool. This tool, contour gauge. Bought a cheap one. It sucks. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't work on the van at all. Maybe I'm using it wrong, but it sucks. Not super helpful. I'm frustrated. Okay, I've put in more hours on this part than I wish that I would have, which stinks. I always think that it's going to be easy, and then it's not. But making some progress, I think. Okay, super not pretty. This is what I have. It's like super, it fits in there. It doesn't look pretty on this side. This side, it looks pretty nice. And obviously cut out in the middle, for that one bracket, and then another super janky looking cut on this side just to work around some of those ribs. On the bottom side it looks fine, but I had to like do this stuff, and it was like back and forth like 100 times from the van. Take a little another chunk off, back into the van, take another chunk off, back into the van, over and over and over until now I finally got this, and then I need to duplicate it for the other side. Sweet. After some grueling hours and frustration and just plain wonder, that's a little bit more like how it goes. So don't give up on it. Just keep at it, even if it doesn't feel easy. So that wraps up the ceiling. Oh, that feels good. There's definitely some awesome parts of this. It was actually really fun, a lot of parts of it. Some parts of it, not so fun. Some parts of it, very frustrating. But ultimately, we got it done. We didn't give up. Just kept having to try. Thanks to Sabina for kind of talking me through a few things and getting me past some roadblocks. So that's awesome. But yeah, if you found this video useful at all, give it a like down there, or if you want to continue to see more updates on the van, more how-tos as we go through this. I'm just kind of making videos to kind of document this as well. So subscribe, like, thanks for watching. We're doing the best we can over here with what we got, and hope you have a great van build. Check you next time.